The snow fell in thick, quiet sheets outside the coffee shop window, each flake catching the glow of Christmas lights strung across the street. Inside, Marcus Chen sat alone at a corner table, checking his watch for the 7th time. 7:47 p.m. She was 47 minutes late. He should leave. Any rational person would have left after 20 minutes, maybe 30 if they were feeling generous. But something kept him rooted to his seat. Maybe it was the way his sister had begged him to give this one last chance, or maybe it was the desperate hope that somewhere beneath his carefully constructed life of board meetings and quarterly reports, he was still capable of believing in something as simple as connection. Marcus ran a hand through his dark hair and signaled the waitress for another coffee. She approached with a sympathetic smile that suggested she'd seen this scenario play out before. The well-dressed man alone on Christmas Eve clearly stood up, too proud to admit defeat. "Still waiting?" she asked gently. "Still waiting," he confirmed, managing a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. What Marcus didn't know was that 8 blocks away, Emma Rodriguez was running through the snowy streets with mascara-streaked cheeks and a broken heel clutched in her hand. Her 7-year-old daughter, Lily, had spiked a fever an hour before the babysitter arrived. Emma had spent 30 precious minutes at the pediatric urgent care, getting reassurance that it was just a mild virus, nothing serious. Then her ancient Honda had refused to start in the clinic parking lot, and the buses were running on holiday schedules. She should have called. She should have cancelled. But the thought of disappointing her well-meaning coworker who'd set up this blind date, who'd insisted that Marcus was different and worth meeting, made her push forward. Plus, she'd spent her last $60 on this dress, worn only once to a cousin's wedding 3 years ago. $60 that should have gone toward Lily's school supplies, if she was being honest with herself. Emma burst through the coffee shop door at 8:03 p.m., breathless and disheveled, her curls escaping their carefully pinned arrangement. She spotted him immediately, the only man sitting alone, and even from across the room, she could see the quality of his suit, the polish of his shoes, the invisible wall of success that surrounded him like armor. He looked up, and their eyes met. "I am so sorry," Emma rushed out, stumbling toward the table. "My daughter got sick, and my car wouldn't start, and I know I should have called, but my phone died, and—" "Please," Marcus interrupted, standing and pulling out her chair with unexpected grace. "Sit down. Catch your breath." Emma sank into the seat, expecting judgment, preparing for disappointment. Instead, Marcus signaled the waitress and ordered hot chocolate and a plate of pastries without consulting the menu. "You're still here," Emma said, disbelief coloring her voice. "Where else would I be on Christmas Eve?" Marcus replied with a slight smile. "My apartment's too quiet, and my assistant already planned my entire holiday schedule around conference calls with Tokyo." Emma laughed, a real laugh that surprised them both. "I'm sorry. I'm sure you had better plans than waiting for a stranger who shows up an hour late looking like she lost a fight with a snowbank." "Actually, you look like you fought hard and won," Marcus said, and the sincerity in his voice made Emma's breath catch. "Your daughter, is she okay?" For the next hour, they talked. Really talked. Emma found herself describing the chaos of single motherhood, the juggling act of 2 part-time jobs, the moments of doubt and the fierce love that kept her going. She expected him to excuse himself politely, to make it clear that her life was too complicated, too messy for whatever pristine existence he'd built. Instead, Marcus listened with an intensity that made her feel seen for the first time in years. "My turn?" he asked when she finally paused. Emma nodded, sipping her now cold hot chocolate. "I'm the CEO of a tech company," Marcus began. "Which sounds impressive until you realize I spend most days isolated in a corner office, making decisions that affect hundreds of employees I barely know. I have a penthouse apartment with a view of the entire city, and I can't remember the last time I looked out the window just to watch the snow fall." He paused, his fingers tracing the rim of his coffee cup. 3 years ago, my wife left me. She said I'd become a stranger, someone who'd traded his humanity for a stock portfolio. And the worst part, she was right." Emma reached across the table instinctively, covering his hand with hers. The gesture was simple, but it carried the weight of understanding, one lonely person recognizing another. "Why did you wait?" Emma asked softly. "You could have left." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "My mother was a single mom," he finally said. She worked 3 jobs to put me through college. I remember her running late to my school plays, my basketball games, always apologizing, always exhausted but always showing up. His eyes met Emma's, and she saw something raw and honest there. When you walked through that door looking like you'd moved heaven and earth just to be here, I saw her. I saw every sacrifice she made, every time the world told her she wasn't enough, but she refused to believe it. Emma felt tears spilling down her cheeks, and she didn't bother wiping them away. I make $17 an hour as a medical billing clerk, she said, needing him to understand the gulf between their worlds. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment where Lily and I share the bed. I'm one emergency away from complete financial disaster. I'm not looking for a rescue, Marcus. I won't be anyone's charity project. Good, Marcus replied firmly. Because I'm not offering charity. I'm offering coffee on Christmas Eve with the most interesting person I've met in years. Someone real, who runs through snow in broken heels because she keeps her promises. Someone who works 2 jobs and still finds the energy to laugh. The coffee shop began to close around them, the staff tactfully clearing nearby tables. Marcus glanced at his watch. Nearly 10 p.m. Can I drive you home? He asked. I promise it's not a line. I just don't want you taking buses this late on Christmas Eve. Emma hesitated, every protective instinct warring with the unexpected warmth blooming in her chest. Finally, she nodded. As they walked to his car, a modest sedan that surprised her, Emma's phone buzzed with a text from her babysitter. Lily's fever had broken, and she was asking for her mother. I need to get home, Emma said, showing him the message. Then let's get you home, Marcus replied simply. During the drive, they made plans, tentative, careful plans for a proper second date when Emma's schedule allowed. No pressure, no expectations, just the possibility of something real. When they pulled up outside her apartment building, humble in the glow of mismatched Christmas decorations, Marcus turned to her. Thank you for showing up, he said. For not giving up, even when you had every reason to. That takes more courage than anything I do in my office tower. Emma smiled, and for the first time in 3 years since her ex-husband left, she felt hope stirring in her heart. Thank you for waiting, she replied. Not many people would have. Then they're missing out, Marcus said softly. As Emma climbed the stairs to her apartment, she looked back to see Marcus's car still idling, waiting until she was safely inside. Through the window, she could see his silhouette, and she understood something profound. Kindness wasn't about grand gestures or rescue fantasies. It was about being seen, being valued, being met exactly where you were. Upstairs, Lily was sleeping peacefully, and Emma kissed her daughter's forehead with tears of gratitude streaming down her face. Outside, the snow continued to fall on Christmas Eve, covering the city in quiet possibility. And somewhere in that same snow, Marcus drove home feeling more alive than he had in years, reminded that the best parts of being human couldn't be measured in stock options or corner offices, only in the simple, revolutionary act of showing up for each other, of waiting when waiting mattered most.